how we found out that our neighbor at the time was possessed with an unclean spirit, okay? So this was back in 2007, and I was pregnant with my first daughter, all right? And my husband at the time was on his way in from work, and it was a Friday, I remember, because we were cooking and cleaning. We lived with his sister and her daughter, and we were preparing for the Sabbath, okay? He comes in and tells us about this man who he met downstairs, who doesn't have anywhere to go, and this brother keeps the Sabbath as well, and he just got kicked out of the house, the same apartment, because this was in New York. He got kicked out of the apartment by his girlfriend, and this guy has nowhere to go. So we're like, okay. So the guy comes over for dinner, and we give him a sleeping bag, and he sleeps in the living room. He keeps the Shabbat, and then after that, the next week, he goes to find some room that he can now live in, because he no longer can live with the girlfriend. So after this point, every Friday evening, he would come over for dinner, right? But we began to notice that he would come over and then he would stay for long periods of time, like into the night, right? But he was also very versed in the Bible. And at that time, we were, as they would classify, as babes, and were intrigued by all things biblical, all right? So homie would come over and stay for long periods of times. But I noticed that when he came over, I began to feel a little uneasy. So they were more enthralled by all of his knowledge. And I'm like, there's something not right with this guy. There's something that's off with this guy, right? But no one was listening to me. So this went on for a couple of weeks. He would go, he would come, he would go, and he would come. One day in particular, he went off. He went off because everyone else was so stupid and didn't have any understanding, and he didn't know what was wrong with it. And I'm saying, hey, this is inappropriate. This guy got to go. Needless to say, he goes away for the night and he comes back another time, right? But before he comes back, no, wait, let me rewind the story. One of the times that he came, he was asking, why is this on the door? And what was on the door is a mezuzah. And a lot of these apartment buildings, and especially in Brooklyn and different parts of New York, when there was a big Jewish population, there would be these mezuzahs on the door that would have, biblical scripture in them. And so he convinced my sister-in-law at the time that you shouldn't have this on the door. This is not good. This is evil. You should take this off the door. Okay. And as someone who's like a baby believing what this guy is saying, is like, oh, let's take this thing off the door. Well, she takes it off the door and she begins having spiritual attacks, right? This is in between the time that he would go and come, but we didn't know where these spiritual attacks were coming from. Stay tuned.